this lecture is going to go over the first 5 assignments in the Picture Lab, which you're going to start this week on the 12th of December and continue through over break, having hopefully completed most of it by the time you get back. Now, just like the Magpie Lab, this one is all about pattern recognition. That is to say, you're going to look at the written code. You might not understand it, but as long as you know what it does, and you can copy it and modify it, that's all you need to do. So, first part, Picture Lab. We're going to do the activities. Activity 1. So you're going to have this picture file. This is in the Picture Lab, which will be in the shared resources online. You need to download it and keep it as is. That is to say, when you open it up, there's going to be a class file, or a classes file, and an images file folder. Those need to be right there. And then you're going to build this class and keep going and keep going and keep going. Now, just to keep things simple, I would recommend you're going to need to do it the way I did it here. So you're going to modify this picture class. You're then going to create classes and testers based on the activity. Okay, so you're just going to copy the Picture Lab into, when we use the Picture Lab in Activity 5, we're going to open it up, we're going to copy everything over into a new class called Activity 5. Then you're going to open the tester, and you're going to create an Activity 5 tester. Okay? And what you're going to have to do there is you're going to have to change the class name, obviously. So in the Picture Lab, it's going to be the biggest program you've worked with by far. But for instance, I've got all these imports. Now it says public class picture, then I have a picture constructor, I have a picture constructor with a file name, I have a picture constructor with a height and a width, I have a picture that takes a picture, and I have a picture that takes a buffered image. So all of those constructors you're going to have to modify. So for instance, in Activity 5, it's essentially the picture class, except instead of saying picture, it says Activity 5. So you're going to copy the picture class, and then you're going to make Activity 5 constructor, Activity 5 with a file name, Activity 5 with a height and width. But once you write this, then you're going to make Activity 6. Activity 6 is the exact same thing. So you're just going to copy Activity 5 and then change the 5 to a 6. Then when you get into your tester, you're going to make, instead of making a picture class object, you're going to make an Activity 5 class object. So normally you take the picture class, you give it a name, you follow the constructor, which gives yourself a file name. This is why it's very important to keep the classes and the images file folder where they are, because the program is going to go and look for the image in the class. Like, it's going to look for a file folder that's in the same folder as your classes file. So if you move the images folder or get rid of the name and just leave it in there, it's going to have trouble finding your pictures. Okay, so set up a picture class. We're going to have an Activity 5 class. Same name, great. A new Activity 5 instead of a new picture. All right. Same thing for Activity 6. All right. We're going to test the mirror vertical right to left. You're going to create an object called caterpillar. Caterpillar file image for Activity 6. You're going to explore, which runs it. You're going to call the method mirror vertical. You're going to run it again, and this way you get the before image and the after image. All right, so you're going to need to change. You're going to have all of these in your file folder on Google Drive. Okay, I'm going to give you all of these: the picture texter, the picture, the file chooser, simple picture, the digital picture interface, the pixel class, as well as the array worker and the color chooser. And then you're going to generate these activities pictures as appropriate. Okay. So intro 1, we're going to look at what is a picture. Now, a picture is just a two-dimensional array, which you've already worked with. And Java arrays, as we'll look into a bit, are row ordered, which means that I have an array of arrays, and it starts at 0, 0, and then we go from there. So I have pixels. I have red, green, and blue, and I have values from 0 to 255. and I just add a certain amount of red, add a certain amount of green, blue, or whatever, and I get my saturation and I get all possible values. Okay. So answer the questions. Alright, you're going to have an activity 1 questions. You're going to have a questions folder, and you're going in Google Drive, and you're going to have a Picture Lab folder, and all of your Google Docs answers. Now you can put them all on the same page if you want this time. So if you want to have, a header that says like activity 1, question 1, 2, 3, activity 2, whatever, that's fine. All right, so answer the questions. Activity 2, run the main method in the color chooser. Okay, over here you're going to run color chooser. Alright, that's going to pop up with this really cool thing here. Alright, now to get to that, see how it says RGB, you're going to click on RGB. Alright, when you click OK, the values appear here in the terminal window. But we can change them, right? I can change my RGB values, right? I can see what it looks like. It's just the transparency. More green. I can also click around. I can change that. Alright, so I can do different things. So read through this and answer the questions. There's no exact answer. What approximate RGB values give me pink, give me yellow, give me purple? Can you make white? Can you make gray? So go through and answer those. Now, activity 3, exploring a picture. Run the main method in the Picture Explorer class. Alright. As of yet, you don't have all the rest of these, so you're just going to have this, and you're just going to run the main method. Alright. And what it's going to do is it's going to pop up the beach. So, you're looking for the beach class. Alright, so here's our beach. Alright, we also have when we make a change, we'll have a copy so we can see. So you can click the arrows or even type values, hit the enter button. So there's the pixel at 82204. Color is red 156, green 199, B 213, and that's what it actually looks like. And then I can move across, I can move up and down, and you'll see this change accordingly as we go through. So the question is, up here, notice the numbers get smaller. Down here the numbers get bigger. So this is my upper corner of my array, and it goes 0 to some number this way as I go across the row, and 0 to some number as I come down the column. So answer these questions. What is the row index? Okay. Row, column. Alright. Rows go this way. So row 0, or row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, row 6. Columns, think of columns on a building. They're vertical. Alright. What is the column index for the top left corner? Okay. Width of the picture is 640 pixels, so what was the last number? Well, if I come over here to the very end, and I come over, well, if it starts at 0, then 640, and then there's 640 of them, then it makes sense that 639 should be the column, and I can't go any further to the right. Okay. And go ahead and there's zoom, if you want to change that. Alright, so that is answer all of these questions. Alright, there's the main method, we just saw it. Okay, and every class Java has a main method, which we already know all about. The body of the main method declares a reference for a pixel. So, exercises. Modify the main method to create and explore a different picture from the images folder. So you already saw the seagull, so just open the images folder and see what the names of them are and get another one to show up. Add a picture of your own picture to the images folder and then create and explore the picture in the main method. Alright, if you have to scale it, you can. Again, here's the code. So you're just going to have a JPEG, you're going to put it in the images folder, and you're going to modify the main method. Now, again, you are not going to modify this one directly. Okay? You're going to make a new class. It's going to be called Activity 3 tester. Okay? Now, the reason for that is you're not changing the code yet. You're just changing trying to learn how to find something new. So you're going to make a new class, activity 3. You're going to copy everything in Picture Explorer. Just cut and paste the whole thing. The only thing you're changing is down here in main. You're going to explore a different picture. Alright. And you're going to and leave it as yours. So try to get another one of the ones in the folder to work. Add your own picture, and then the assignment I'm going to grade by coming down and running activity 3 and seeing if your picture pops up. Okay? So that means when you upload to the Google Drive, you need to upload the images file folder with your picture in it as well. Okay. Then we're getting into two-dimensional arrays and actually modifying pictures. So this is going to be activity 4. So A4, activity 4, you're going to modify the picture class in the activity 4 class, and then you're going to copy Picture Explorer and turn it into activity 4 tester. Okay. So you're going to read through. So again, if I were to have the two-dimensional array of 2 columns in this case and 3 columns and 2 rows, if I was to have a row major order, that means that I'm going to go through row 1 first, because the computer actually stores them as just long sequences of one-dimensional arrays. And then I would have the back half here. Alright, if I was going to go column major order, I'd go this one, so 1 and 4, and 2 and 5, and then 3 and 6 actually next. Java actually just strings them as arrays, and it is row major order. So row 0, so I have an array going this way. I have an array of row 1, I have an array of row 2, and an array of row 1 contains all columns, the first set of columns, and array of row 2 contains all of the second one. And again, this is a little advanced, you can practice it a lot, but again, just mostly worried about finding code, recognizing a pattern, and copying it. So, nested for loops to go through a two-dimensional array. The outside loop traditionally is going to go through your rows, and it is going to, you want to use your array index length to avoid going out of bounds. Alright, so less than the length of your array, which in this case we called it matrix. Now remember, if this is an array of arrays, then the inside one, like columns, they're going to be the length of the first row. Whatever the first row is, and it's so get the index of 0, tell me the length of that array, and that's going to be the size of my inner loop to go through my columns, excuse me. Now you can have ragged arrays, which are not like the first row is 5, the second row is 4, the third row is 3. And those will not appear on the AP exam. You can assume that all arrays are equal length. Alright. So, I can, if I am not trying to modify certain things, and we're going to get into when and where you should use these modified, or these enhanced for loops, for each loops. But if you're just trying to get data in a two-dimensional array, this is the fastest way of doing it, because you never have to worry about counting anything. Alright? The way it works is I write 4, and then I have the name of my array, my two-dimensional array, or it could be a one-dimensional array, but usually use it for 2. Alright, the name of my array, I have to put a colon, and then whatever data is in that array, I make a local variable, and I get one of them, and I do something with it. So in this case, I get an array, an integer array, which is my whole first row. So my second one, inside of that, each column of row array is an integer, and I'm going to give it a name item. And I'm going to have a total. I'm just going to add that item amount to the total and go through. Now the problem with this is you cannot stop in the middle. This always goes from beginning to end. So it's a great fast way to sequence from beginning to end in any array, especially a two-dimensional array, and just get data. When I'm not worried about changing the data in the middle of it. I don't have to stop and exit because this will go from the beginning to the end. So, exercises. Write a get count method in the int_array worker class that returns the count of the number of times the passed integer value is found in your matrix. There's already a method to test it in the tester. Just uncomment the method test count and call it in the main. So, in main, I have test get count. Just uncomment it and comment out the ones you don't need. And run it and see what happens. So, we're going to go through we're going to add a get count method. So I currently have set the matrix, in which I pass it an integer array called the matrix, and I set my local field here equal to that. Alright. Now I currently have a get total, which returns the total values in the array. So I'm going to go from start at 0. I'm going to go through, and I could also write this as an enhanced for loop. Go through everything, get the row column value, the data in there, and add it to my total. Okay. Now I have get total nested, which is the exact same thing, except it uses an enhanced for loop. Okay. So I'm going to write a get count. Alright. So it doesn't matter where you write it. All that matters is that it works. So we'll write it at the end. So it's going to be, I need to sequence through and get values of a certain amount. So let's copy this one. Method to return returns the count of the number of times, so it returns the total number of times a specific value is found in the matrix. Return the total count total of the specified value in the array. So, int total equals 0, that's fine. Take my matrix, which is a two-dimensional instance field up here, loop through it. This just adds everything, but I don't want to add everything. Let's just call this count. Oops. Oh yeah. So at return count. Yep. What is this called? Count. That's better. We're not totaling, we're counting. Go through. If item equals some test, something what we're looking for, add one to my counter. Return my counter. Okay. So obviously I need some parameter here. And we need to change the name to get count. Int. Sorry, call it what you want. So go through my array every time. I check each spot and check if that value equals my search value. If so, I'll increment my counter and then return the total count. Alright, no problems. We'll close that. We're going to come down here. We're going to comment the ones we don't want out. Uncomment test get count. Now we need to come up here and find test get count. Okay, and we need to uncomment it. Make sure it works. Alright, so create a new int array worker object. Create a 3x4 array. Set the matrix. Fill it. Alright, we're looking for int count. Count should be 6, and count is, we'll find out. So we're going to fill it. We're going to put the number 1 as our search, and we're going to see what happens. So I could just run the method, or I could run the main. I'm just going to run the method. Alright, so count should be 6, and count is 6. So it went through and it found 6 number 1s inside this array, so it is working appropriately. Alright, so now you're going to modify that, continue to modify that, and you're going to write largest, get column total, and that's the end of activity 4. So, you're not going to modify this. So activity 4 is a copy of your int array worker. Alright, and then your activity 4 tester is a copy of int array worker tester, where you're going to run, at the end of the method, you're going to run everything. Alright, so copy, don't modify int array worker like I just did. Create a new class called activity 4, copy the current int array worker into it, and you're going to write your methods. So get count, num to find, or whatever you want to call it, and then, largest, etc. Okay, and you're going to write all of them there in activity 4. Then remember, in activity 4 tester, you're going to change from an int array worker to an activity 4. Just changing the name. That's all you're doing. You can get activity 4 to work. Alright, activity 5 is modifying a picture. So you're going to copy the picture class in the Picture Explorer. You're going to turn it into activity 4, or activity 5, and the activity 5 tester. Okay. So notice this is essentially this class. So, open Picture Java, look for the method getPixels 2D. Open Simple Picture Java, which is right here, and see if you can do it. So answer these questions. Mess with it a little bit, see if you get it to work. Read the thing about interface, don't worry too much about interfaces yet. Open Picture Tester, run the main method. You should get the same results as running the main method in the picture class. Alright, file. Alright. In this case, I blew everything out. Okay. Uncomment the appropriate test method to test any of the other methods in the picture class that you want. Comment out the ones you don't want. The method zeroBlue in the picture class gets a two-dimensional array and declares a variable that refers to the pixel named object1, uses a nested for each loop to go through, and sets the blue value for each pixel to 0. Alright, so zeroBlue. So, get the pixels 2D, so get all the pixels in my picture. Create a two-dimensional array of pixel objects. For pixels, go through the rows, create an individual picture object, and then call the setBlue method on that pixel object to make the blue value 0. Okay. Right here. Now, for activity 5, using the zeroBlue method as a starting point, write the method keepOnlyBlue. That is, 0 out the other ones. Okay? So, if you notice, we're going to add a keepOnlyBlue method here. So you're going to write it into activity 5. You're going to write a keepOnlyBlue method. So it should go through and it should set the red and the green values to 0. Alright. Then you're going to test it in the picture tester. So you're going to copy the picture tester class over, and you're going to create an activity 5 tester. And activity 5 tester, you're going to run the appropriate methods. So make sure they all work. Upload the finished product, and I'll go through and change the values, I'll comment out the methods I want to see. So for instance, if we keep only blue, and we run the main method, which should only run keep only blue, so now it should only be blue values. Everything else should be 0. Okay. So complete activity 5, writing 4, 5, and 6. And then we're going to get into mirroring later. Not what I meant to do.